Tom from Milwaukee with 23 years of continuous paint time.
I'm Tom. I'm an addict. 23 and a half. You always want to get that half in there. No, that's okay. I had, well, I can tell you that. I've had 20 good years and 3 really bad years. And that was the first 2 and the one between 22 and 23. But I hope to get to the last 6 months, because that's been a beautiful thing, what's happened to me in the last 6 months. But I got to watch and I'll look at it, but it doesn't mean I'll quit. I'm going to get the cutoff sign. But anyway, I'm glad, it's really nice to be here and come out here and be involved and be asked to be anywhere, of course, in an area that's starting and getting your feet wet and doing all this. It's really nice that you're doing this. It kind of reminds me of when I got clean in Narcotics Anonymous in Portland in the early days, way back when we used to walk barefoot to meetings and all that stuff in the snow. And it's nice to be somewhat of a pioneer in that sense. And that NA, when I got here, had oh my God, we only had 2 meetings a night, and one of them might be in Forest Grove, and the other one would be in North Portland. And it was a good time to come. It was when NA had just started to split. The resentment started and meetings started. There was kind of a clique, and the clique kind of broke, and one of the ringleaders got loaded, and so people started another meeting on the same night at the same time just to piss them off. And so that was the time that I came, and I came in with my wife, and we got clean together. She got loaded on the way to a meeting one night, and I didn't, and so I still have one more day clean than her, and she's still clean. I guess since I got a lot of time, I'll tell you a little bit how sick I was. I remember my first sponsor, tell him how sick you are and then get to the steps is what he told me to do. He's no longer with us. He went out at 9 years clean and was shot and killed a few years later. But he helped me, and I want to talk a little bit about sponsorship and love, of course. It's all about love. So I was just a regular little kid that loved playing baseball, and I was always playing baseball because I didn't want to go home, because home was kind of brutal. It wasn't always too bad, but sometimes it got real weird. And so I would rather just escape playing baseball, and I was going to be the next Mickey Mantle, and well, for you people aren't that old. I was going to be good, and I was good. I was really a good little baseball player because it's all I did. And, I got hit in the eye with the ball. What am I going to do, So I started hanging out at the bowling alley. And back then, pinballs were only a dime. God, I'm old. And you got 5 balls. Yeah. Anyway, I used to hustle pinball machines and get the games up to a high number, sell them, leave one, and go back up, And I'd mow a few lawns and hang out and just, I don't know how old I was. One day I went to the pool hall, and that's where the beautiful people were at the pool hall. The kind that they told me to stay away from. And I had been a good kid, an athlete and everything else, but once I hit the pool hall, and used, that was it. I was off and running, and my story is that I drank alcohol, I smoked marijuana, smoked cigarettes, had sex, and took some speed, all in 2 weeks. So I didn't waste any time. And I got started fast, running hard, and within a few years, I was arrested for 22 felonies. I was 19 years of age, and Vietnam was going on, and they made a deal for me to go to Vietnam, drop the charges, and go in the Marines. And my hair was long and pretty and beautiful. God, I didn't want to get it cut. And it was all naturally curly. Oh, it was fantastic. And then I didn't really want to go kill anybody either, and I didn't like boot camp, so I thought I was being honorable. I ran, and I started doing some bad stuff, and I got in trouble. And one of the things I did was I stole old ladies' purses and was arrested for 18 counts of unarmed robbery, and I ruined those ladies' lives. And I will never forget that. And I'll never forget what lengths I'll go to get what I want. And anyone gets in my way, and I will use you, and I will hurt you, and I hate myself for that, and I hated myself for that. And so the way it worked out that I'd gotten so many felonies and so much trouble that they wouldn't take me, So it was weird how it worked, and I was glad. I'm still glad about that. But so then it was more about shame. I hated myself, and I would never even know it. But what I did proved that I did. And so I had a car wreck, well, I had a dozen car wrecks, but I had a bad one, and I had a kind of an out-of-body experience where I saw myself, and my life flashed before me, and I woke up in the car, and it was like, it's not time, you're not done. And I was 24 years old, and now I knew that it was okay when you die. I saw it, and I knew it was going to be all right. So now I was reckless and dangerous even more. I was crazy because I didn't care if I died now. And I knew I was going to. And, of course, I took my first fix when I was 19 shooting, we called it crank, methamphetamine. We didn't have time to say. Crank. And it was good. And so we just kept shooting, and then and I had a bad experience with that, so I quit doing that. And I didn't use the needle until I did again, later on. And so now, now I'm like getting in a lot of trouble, right? I'm getting arrested. I'm getting. Well, see, I'm not a big speaker, but I'm a storyteller, and I have so many stories. And I thought of one, and I don't know if this is a good crowd for this one or not, but because I'm old. We used to just hang out and use and go to jail and in and out of jail, and I didn't care. I mean, it was just part of the hazards of using, and I didn't think I was hurting anybody, I remember going to the Clackamas County Jail many times, and I'd be cuffed on the floor, and the jailer would bang on the steel desk, and the door would open. I remember thinking, God, I wish I could get out and bang on that thing and have that door open. And in and out of jail, I'm going to get confused here if I think too much. Remind me about that door a little later, Gilbert. I'm going to tell a story. So one day we're at this dope house where I was hanging out and living and sleeping and whatever, and we were doing crazy stuff in there, and we were selling LSD and whatever else we had, and one day this guy came in. He's kind of weird anyway, you know how some of us are. This guy was really weird. And we sold him, there's one of them right there. He can relate. We used to sell these blotters, we called them, and there was 100-page, and we had a half a page. And this guy bought 50 blotters, a half a page of blotters, a half a page. And so he sits down and starts eating the whole thing. And I'm like, Jesus, half of one of those made me crazy, And I'm thinking, isn't anybody going to stop this guy? What's he? Come on, he's eating the whole thing. And finally, we wrestled it away from him, and he'd eaten half a page of blotters. It was either 24 or 26 of these things, right? And we're going, get out of here, We don't want to see you anymore. You can't have no more. And so, we're getting high and loaded, and we go to the store, and about 150 yards up the street, here's this guy, a couple hours later, standing there like this, looking at a bush. And I'm going, Jesus, look at this guy, man. Whoa, I'm starting to get a contact high, We buy our beer and whatever at the store. We come back and He hasn't really moved for an hour, half an hour. And I'm like, Jesus, I got to quit doing that stuff. I'm not taking LSD ever again. And I didn't for 4 years. But anyway, the next day, maybe 300, 400 yards up the road, there he is again. Except for one thing, it changed. His hair turned white overnight. Silver. I mean, platinum blonde white. So he was the white-haired guy, and I'm going, wow, and I've heard of that happening. My uncle was on an island with a tidal wave, and he got so scared his hair turned white overnight. And so we knew the guy took too much. But that, And so, I was like, okay, so 4 years go by, right? And then I'm hanging out somewhere, and this guy goes, man, I found this old LSD. I found 100 hits, and it's really kind of mild, man. You want some? And I go, yeah. So I take 4 of them. And we tripped out and went and got drunk, Valium, took a bunch of stuff all night, and it's the next day now, and I'm going, man, I'm getting a little tired now. You got some more of that? And I took 4 more. And I don't know how it happened, but guess who showed up? The white-haired guy. And he's wearing a collar, and he's got a Bible, and he's in the tavern I'm in, and he's still like that. He's still got... And he's picking on me, and I'm on the ground going, is this guy real? I don't know if I see him. Is he, And it was him. It was for real. So I thought, this is really cosmic, man. I never took this stuff for 4 years, and I take it, and there he is, man. This is, man, I know I'm onto something big here. And the truth is, I was a complete loser. Didn't have a job. I was living on $33 a week unemployment. Going and playing golf and not paying, coming to the tavern and hustling pool, mooching off people, and thought I was doing good, man. Thought I was living the life, man. And I was dying. And I lived in that quiet desperation. We didn't talk about it. I didn't think about it, but I knew it. That quiet desperation of sitting in some tavern or dope house waiting for something to happen, not having any money, trying to whatever, and I just lived like that for years. And, I guess I didn't think about it. I didn't even want to think about it. So anyway, I don't know, I had a bad week one week. Thanksgiving, I don't do good on the holidays. I had 2 drunk drivings, 2 hit and runs, and attempt to elude in a week. What are you going to do? It's just a bad week. And so I kind of, had gotten a record, and some things were piling up, and, I'd violated another for probation, and so the judge was he was pretty upset, and I knew him. Anyway, he sent me to 10 AA meetings, and I thought, Jesus, 10? That's quite a few. I thought that was pretty harsh, And this was 1977. So I went to my first meeting. It was a podium. The guy was funny. He talked about drugs. It was a good meeting. He told my story. He really did. I mean, he even golfed, And it was like, man, I'm glad I'm not like any of those people, And so it took me a few more years, exactly 7, really. A couple years later, I got in some more trouble, so I went to treatment in 1979, and that was to get out of something else, and violated this and that, and I did manage to stop taking alcohol, and but I was smoking 30 joints a day, and selling dope and driving on a suspended license. But I thought I was pretty cool, and I went to those meetings and talked a lot. Whoa. Never really sponsored anybody or took a cake. But finally, and I went to my first NA meeting in treatment in 1979, and I thought, my God, they don't take anything? How do you do that? Why? Why would you even do that? And so that's where I was. Denial had me pretty good. But by the time I finally went to that meeting with the wife, I had been trying for a whole year every day to stop using, and I went to meetings all the time and couldn't quit. And I wanted to quit, and I didn't, and I couldn't, I wouldn't, and it was worse than anything. It was worse than anything. So when I finally surrendered and got clean, I decided, I decided, but I really don't ever want to feel like that again. I don't want, when the desire was removed from me, I have that freedom from that choice. I don't have to do it, and I don't ever want to have to be like that every day, not wanting to do it and doing it anyway and hating myself for it. And I'm sure that people that relapse feel that and stuff. So what I did was I got busy, and like anything else, I'm all or nothing, obviously. And so I got involved, and I did do 10, 12 meetings a week, and I started. Well, of course, I talked in every one of them for at least 10 minutes. We just opened the meeting, and all us assholes that wanted to talked every time, which I was one of. And some of you might even remember that. And so the first year was basically meetings. Don't use meetings. I actually did start going to the Clackamas County Jail with the other fellowship. And I only had a year, and I remember I read a poem in the jail that I wrote, non-approved literature, it's crazy. I was crazy. So the second year was like really different, really different, and I had to do different stuff. And I got involved in H&I in Portland area, and at that meeting they were asking for drug meetings. Well, I brought it to the committee, and you know how that works, Gilbert. I ended up being the liaison for the Clackamas County Jail. And we were going downtown through the glass, but we were not allowed any contact meetings at all, not NA, because we'd smuggled dope or something. And so just weren't trusted. We just weren't trusted. And so I started talking with the people at the jail. Well, I'll throw another little story. And there was a time when they busted the tavern I was hanging out in, looking for me and a few other guys, and arrested my wife. And she wasn't my wife then, but oh well. And she isn't now, but we'll talk about that. It's okay. And so I had this weird habit of calling up the jail and telling them my full name and telling them, I think you're all a bunch of my name is Dwayne Thomas Kelly, and I'm thinking, and they'd listen. And I do it from your house, though, and that wasn't always good. So I'm doing it one night, and I go, yeah, and the guy goes, he goes, Tom, it's getting boring. He said, you got nothing original? It's not even any fun for me anymore. I said, Jesus, Larry, you got the number for the Multnomah County Narcotics Office? He says, yeah, I'll get it for you. And so I called them once, and it was like making obscene phone calls. Pretty soon you get tired of it. Not that I did that too much. Anyway, so here I am doing the liaison for the jail, and I set all this up, right? And the committee, and everything, and we get it, and we're going to have our very first contact NA meeting in the Clackamas County Jail, which, by the way, I am going to still to this day once a month. They're second Tuesday of every month. That's why I'm still clean and still grateful. So my sponsor and I, the sponsor that ended up dying, did our very first contact meeting in the Clackamas County Jail for Narcotics Anonymous in our area, in the Pacific Northwest, in Oregon, let's say. And it was amazing. But the night before I went, I called the guy up and I said, okay, we'll be there at 7:30, blah, 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 or whatever it was. He goes, yeah. He goes, you know what, Dwayne? It's sure nice getting phone calls from you now, not like it used to be. I said, Jesus, Larry, that was you? He goes, yeah, I used to work the night shift. Whoa. It was just one of those deals, right? So after that meeting, that night, we went in, and it was awesome, man. It was powerful being in that jail with my sponsor. And when we walked out, our feet weren't even touching the ground. We knew we were leading something big here. NA in the jail. Contact, man. We don't want to blow this now. And so as we were leaving, we walked up to the door. Bam, bam, I hit that thing and the door opened, man. That's a true story. That says it all for Narcotics Anonymous right here, because I had no hope of that door opening ever. And it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't gotten clean. It sure wouldn't happen if I hadn't gotten involved and made the decision to want to help, to be of service, a reluctant servant that I am, loving, reluctant servant, reluctant, loving servant. There's the love. Anyway, so I started doing the jails, and you know how that goes. I told my sponsor, he put me on silence at 2 years clean. He told me I wasn't Mr. N.A., that it would go on without me, that I needed to quit chairing so many meetings, And I went on 30-day silence, if you can believe that. She doesn't believe it. I remember listening to the loudmouth that talks for 10 minutes, made me sick. It was me. So I learned to get a 5-minute timer on me at least. I think sharing in meetings is very sacred. I tell the truth. If I'm doing well, you're going to hear about how well I'm doing. If I'm not, you're going to hear about how crazy I am. That's just the way it is. And that's the way it should be. I'm not frightened to scare the newcomers with insanity. Geez, where do you think they're coming from? Or with God, either, because what else is going to help them? So, where am I? I'm clean. I got a couple of years. I think, oh, my God, they're going to ask me to be chairperson of H&I. And I told my sponsor, and he laughed, like, who do you think you are again? But some guy I hardly knew nominated me, and my sponsor said, if 2 people give you a second and they vote you in, you might as well do it. So I did. I got to be H&I chair when I had 2.5 years clean. And it was really cool because now all the jails started opening up, and I was able to be the liaison for those 2 years I was chairperson for all the jail meetings we got started at that time. Restitution Center, all of them, Multnomah County. It was really cool. And here I am representing NA, speaking, without F-bombs, and, helping out, getting the message in the jails. And, I OD'd on doing 3 jail meetings a week for about 5 years, of course, Gilbert. And, sorry, you're just right there. And it was a great time to be in NA again and on that committee. And we grew at a rate of about 200% per 6 months. And we grew a little too fast because we used to have big meetings, and then all of a sudden, we had too many meetings, and they got really small and scattered and weird. But, whatever. It's NA. What are you going to do? And let's see. I, of course, was being sponsored and was being a sponsor and was working the steps. I've done many inventories and really worked the steps many times, and because I have to. And so, at about 2.5 years, we started taking young girls into our home, little criminal addicts that lived with us, little girls like you, really twisted. And, I'm sorry. Maybe it was more like you. And so they were in the criminal system, and they'd been abused terribly in every way you can imagine, every one of them. And so for a period of 5 years, 18 girls lived with us in our home. It was insane. They would steal, lie. I'd catch them running. It was like hunting deer down sometimes. I had the disease right in my face, right in my home, and I fell in love with all of these girls. And one day, after it was all done, and we finally detoxed from all of that crisis intervention stuff. Now, we had a lot of help. They went to treatment during the day. They had parole officers. They had counselors. We did a lot of stuff, and other parents were doing this, and we had a big support. So we were able to really really get involved in trying to help these girls. And they didn't want help. They just didn't want to be in jail. But eventually, boy, they'll never forget us. And our very first girl has 20 years clean. One of our most precious ones OD'd about 3 years ago now. And about 5 or 6 of them still keep in close contact with us, so it's really pretty amazing. But what was more amazing for me, and the steps and the program working in my life, is my sponsor said to me one day, he goes, "How many of those purses did you steal?" And I said, "Well, it was 18. He goes, "How many girls have lived with you?" 18. And he said, "Do you think that you were able to make amends to those old ladies because they were gone, and by helping these young ladies, you were able to make it right for you?" And I said, "No, I never would have thought of that. I would have messed it up if I'd have thought of that." So, so again, I suit up, I show up, I did a thorough 8-step. I became willing to make amends to them all, and God provided a way for me to get relief for me and amend my behavior. And so today I have many women friends in my life, very many, and I'm still making it right for hurting women by helping women. And it's the most beautiful gift and most wonderful thing that I do today. And that's also a blessing to have many, many people in my life in recovery. And I think that a support group is probably the most important part of this program. We talk about the 5 basic major things, and that's meetings, sponsorship, steps, service, and God. But that support group is totally the best thing I have. And it's because stuff happens. There was a divorce, 9 years ago now? Yeah, about that. And after being with Nancy for 25 years almost. And that was difficult. And there I had my sponsees, man, and my support group calling me every day. My sponsee, Dan, is just celebrating 17 years. He'll be chairing the meeting tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, Providence Hospital. And I've been with him all 17 years. And he was there for me during that divorce. I met Eric doing the steps in a church on a Monday night, missing Monday night football for 24 weeks one time too, and then he came into my life. And these guys held me up when I went through that divorce. And then after that, I got cancer, and my support group was there for me and helping me out and carrying me through that, man. And I didn't have to do any of it alone. There was drugs involved I had to take, surgery, a lot of weird stuff. And there they were, man. And I let them help me. I had to be myself and cry and hurt and be afraid and let people love me, man. I let people love me. And then what happened? Then well, of course, I had a girlfriend there for a while. I wasn't going to do that, but she chased me down, and I had to do it. And then we separated, and I got right after that I got tuberculosis. And both the ex-wife and the ex-girlfriend are regular friends. We talk all the time. We still love each other deeply, and we're all still clean. And it's a good thing. It's a beautiful thing. And they just got sick of me. And it was about me being selfish, okay? Selfish, self-centeredness, running to meetings, playing golf, not thinking of them, not looking at putting them first, putting me first. That's really it. Oh, I hate it when I get honest like that. Where was I? Playing golf? See? It threw me that deep. The girlfriend, I got TB then, tuberculosis, man. And my sponsee, Dan, loves to say this, that I'm a lot like Jimmy K. Jimmy K died from tuberculosis, our founder. And Dan says I'm like Jimmy K because the newcomers have a better chance, have an easier time getting off heroin than they do getting away from me. And that's quite an honorable thing. I'm a parking lot guy, man. I'm out in the parking lot talking. And so this TB was difficult, and it really threw me, and I got really sick, and I got really depressed, and I got really crazy. And there they were. Dan was washing my dishes. Eric told one of my other sponsees to help me out, and that guy came through, and Eric was there for me, and these guys took care of me, and I let them love me and take care of me, man. And that's what we call intimacy with men, huh? And we love each other, and we've been through it all together. And so I got through that, but the depression had me a little crazy, and this young, crazy girl kissed me and told me she loved me, and I lost my mind completely. And, oh, God, did the sponsees have to hear about that. I mean, I think that I could handle the cancer, the TB, but that drove me crazy, right? And so I almost lost it, man. I was thinking about jumping in front of a bus, And so what did I do? I got busy. I started meditating every day. This is the last 6 months I'm going to tell you about. It's been so beautiful, and I still got a few minutes, right? It was hard because the cancer also came back. So I've got that to think about, and then I'm obsessed with this girl, and I'm depressed from the TB, and I know that some of my friends are wondering, is he ever going to get over this or quit talking about this? But no, I had to do what I had to do. And so what I realize now in looking back is that the depression had me pretty good. I didn't realize it. From being that sick that long, I focused it on her. And when I started doing the steps again, really hard, did a 56-page 4-step, I started walking every day. I started meditating. I kept going to meetings. I'm sure I did something else, acupuncture. I ran into some spiritual healers and some beautiful people, and I started to get well, for real. And not only did I get well, I got better than I've ever been. And because of the pain, I got the growth. From the severe pain, I got great growth. And so today I can tell you that my whole life has changed as a result of being sick, being obsessed, and asking for help. And I was not afraid to ask anybody. I mean, the lady at Starbucks, he'd go, "How you doing?" I go, "Oh man, this girl, By the time she gave me my coffee, she's going, "It's going to be okay." Yeah, thanks. So I would say that having a support group, he gets it, but he gets it a little late sometimes. Having a support group is paramount because, I can love them and they can love me. It's all about love. I'll tell you one more thing. We went to the blues festival there and ran into Gilbert and had a nice place to sit, beautiful blanket, a lot of food and drinks and stuff. And we were hanging out, having a ball. We went Friday and we go, wow, we got a spot. We went back Sunday. And I was supposed to go hear a sponsee speak. I called him up and I said, "Man, Phoebe Snow's coming. I ain't leaving." He goes, "I don't care." So we were sitting there, and there she was. A girl I knew from early recovery some 23 years ago, who had maybe 6, 8, 9 years at one time and has been relapsing ever since. Her husband killed himself, I spotted her, and she came over to us on our little blanket there. We had, I was with my girlfriend and her host girl from Spain that she had, and Gilbert and Larry and Vicky and Jan, and all of us were there, just having a good time. And here came this girl, and I spotted her, and I started hugging her, And I said, "I love you, I love you, I love you." And she said, "I'm drunk." I said, "I don't care. I love you." Now, she used to be pretty, but she hasn't even got too many teeth now. And she's living in a van, and she's hurting. And so we had her sit down and wouldn't let her leave. She went to go somewhere, and we'd have her leave her purse. That was Larry. And we all took our turns. Jan, Gilbert, we all went up. Vicky, because she remembered a few of us from 2 years ago. And we loved her, man. We loved her so hard. And I said, I got to go over and talk to her again. And I grabbed a hold of her, and I wouldn't let go. I was kissing her, and I was telling her, I was whispering in her ear, I love you. And I felt it happen. I felt love go straight from me right into her. I felt it go right into her. I really did. And I felt her go limp. And she just started saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. And isn't that what it's about here? Loving people and not judging. Today, she's been calling me. She said she's doing 90 and 90. I don't know exactly how well she's doing, but she is calling, and I'm going to talk to her some more. But the thing is, the pain I suffered got me to a place to be willing to do anything to get free. Anything to get free. And I was singing karaoke last night. I mean, come on. This is nothing compared to that. Just give me a mic, though. I might sing. What's happened for me with the surrender, with, okay, let's say acceptance of reality of life and all the things in it, and the surrender to letting God help me, I found complete forgiveness for everyone and anyone, which allows me to forgive me, and the freedom from that kind of forgiveness makes me free from judgment. I don't judge anyone. Oh, hardly. I better watch out. And that allows me not to judge me. It's a freedom. I cannot explain how wonderful my life is today as a result of the pain I went through and the difficulty that I had to endure to reach for a power greater than myself to help me through, and along with people like you to save my life. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you to both of our speakers for helping to carry the NA message. We actually have a book up here that I haven't had our speakers sign yet, but they're going to. And they're for the person with the least time in this room. And the book is for that person. So do we have anybody with less than 30 days? For you? Come on up and get your book. The following is from page 15 of the basic text, and it says, after sitting in a meeting or several meetings, we began to feel that people cared and were willing to help. Surrounded by fellow addicts, we realized that we were not alone anymore. Thank you to all of you for attending, and you can hear our speakers again on our TVANA homepage in the next couple days. And talk to Jerry if you want an area t-shirt, because I forgot to mention that earlier, but they're for sale. Talk to him. And we're now going to close with the serenity prayer. Or sorry, the third step prayer.
And next month, you can hear Dan D., who's celebrating 17 years tomorrow, speaking.
Take my will in my life, guide me in my recovery, show me how to live. Keep me coming back, it works if you work it.